Hey everybody, it's Rebecca Johnson of Supergirl Radio. I'm just getting the live stream started here, and we will officially get started with the Supergirl Radio episode here in a little bit. But I thought I would go ahead and try to be punctual. We hadn't done one of these in a couple weeks, so wanted to make sure we got started on time. Looks like we got some comments in the chat that I'll address before we get started here. So, New Rachel says, I remember this one having Space Family flashbacks, Alex with a long wig, John and Alex having to go on the run, Kara revealing her secret to Lucy, and Kara and Lucy on motorcycles. Also, the reveal that Jeremiah was taken by Cadmus. And I think this one was when we learned Siobhan had powers. Yes to all of that. It's a pretty packed episode story-wise and show mythology-wise. So this is a pretty good one. So please let us know your thoughts in the chat as we get started in the discussion. We're probably just going to do a discussion, some feedback, and a couple of snap judgments for this live stream. So if you have any snap judgments you would like us to make, give us two choices in the live chat and we will get to those. And you can feel free to play along with snap judgments. We would like to see what you choose. So we will be talking about all of that. I mean, I hadn't watched Manhunter this episode in quite some time. And it was like I was watching it for the first time. So I'm excited to rewind back and get Morgan's thoughts on them, on everything that happened. Because it's funny to watch these in hindsight, I guess. When we're rewinding and going back, there are things like Alex going on the run to find her father. Will that will that come to fruition? Well, I guess technically, I guess it does. Spoiler alert! In season 2, she does find her father, but I don't think that lasts long term. So so we'll rewind and talk about those things. But a really great John Jones Martian Manhunter episode, a great Alex episode, even a great Kara episode. There's flashbacks to young Kara in this one. So really, really good stuff. And the sort of origin story. I guess the official, I guess we've been getting the origin story of Silver Banshee, but this one really kicks it into high gear or low gear, maybe, as we can say, because she gets pretty low to the ground when she discovers she has powers. So that is a tease for the next episode, I guess, that we'll get into. But it's interesting for me on a personal note, having I'm trying to go back and finish reading through the Supergirl New 52 issues. And in that run, in that era of comics for Supergirl, Silver Banshee and Supergirl are friends. So it's a little weird for me now to go into the show where Siobhan hates her. So it is kind of strange. So I encourage you to check out the New 52. It was kind of I felt like it was a clunker when it started. It was hard to get into the new take on Supergirl that they were going for in the New 52. But once I've gotten into it, I've been interested in where it's going. So there's a lot to get through until I think it really gets good. I think the Supergirl Silver Banshee stuff is when it started to pick up and get good for me. So I'm still working my way through the New 52. That's a reading project for me to get finished. And then I'll probably go back to the 70s and 80s and finish that up. There are some Superman family issues that we're going to get to this summer here on Supergirl Radio. I have just purchased some issues of the Superman family. Maybe that have to do with a soap opera, maybe of some kind. So we're going to read through that arc, an arc talking about Supergirl's time on the small screen in a soap opera called Secret Hearts. So that will probably coincide that with the Flash movie, since Sasha Kaje is she has a history on The Young and the Restless. So we're probably going to tackle that here sometime this summer. So I've ordered all my issues ready to go because they're difficult to find, the Superman family issues. Sometimes they're not at local comic book shops. As far as I know, digitally wise, I don't think it's in like Comixology. I don't think they have a lot of those available in the digital format. So it's tough to track down these things. So I like to go back to the source material and actually read the actual comics, because I've found that when I do that, Wikipedia is usually wrong. so so I trust Wikipedia to a degree, but then I want to read it for myself because sometimes it is not great. Well, until we wait for Morgan to get here, if anybody has any questions or comments in the chat, feel free to drop them in there, and we'll just hang out and chat for a second. Hagel Blast in the chat says, in the New 52, I think Kara and Siobhan were even roommates sharing an apartment for a while. Yeah, they were pals, and if I remember correctly, Supergirl and Siobhan's brother might have had a little romantic interest in each other. I feel like that was a thing that I read. I can't remember exactly, but there was stuff with Siobhan having a brother, and that kind of came up. Let's see. New Rachel says, I just bought several of the Sterling Gates Supergirl books because they were on sale on Comixology. Yeah, definitely go pick those up. That's a run I would highly recommend. Both his original run on Supergirl, that's got the Superwoman stuff. I'm not going to spoil that for you if you don't know who Superwoman is, because there is a book called Who is Superwoman? So I don't want to answer that title for you if you don't know. If you've listened to Supergirl Radio for a while, you probably know. But if you don't, I don't want to spoil it. But he has a couple of books that you can pick up in that original run. And then he also wrote The Adventures of Supergirl, which is a comic tie-in to the show, which actually has the first appearance of Alex Danvers in comic book form. So highly recommend that one as well. There's a little sigh in there, which I enjoy. And he also, if you're curious, I don't think you can buy this, but you can probably find it on the interwebs. It's a Man of Steel prequel comic, which was a sort of tie-in to the Zack Snyder Man of Steel film. It's not really part of the mythology, even though I think you could get there. I think it was initially supposed to maybe be part of the mythology of the Snyderverse, but I don't guess they ever got to that point. But Zack Snyder's sort of neither confirmed nor deny, in my opinion, that the open pod in Man of Steel was Kara's. I think it is. The Man of Steel prequel comic sort of alludes to the fact that it is, but he's never said one way or the other. Some people, you'll probably see an article where it's like, oh, Zack Snyder says that the open pod is not Supergirl's. I don't know. That's not what I got from what he said. So I would still like to think that that is Supergirl's pod there in Man of Steel. But there's also a prequel comic that's all about Kara on Krypton. So if you are interested in that, it's a great comic, well written. The art is very good. So if you want to dig it up on the interwebs, it is there for you to enjoy. I believe it came out with the Walmart promotional stuff for Man of Steel. New Rachel says, I've read Who is Superwoman and Adventures of Supergirl, both very good. Yep. Sterling Gates has some good takes on Supergirl if you are interested in that. And looks like CM Gutier 74 is here. Hello, welcome. If you have any comments, questions, let me know. I'm going to check in with Morgan here, see what she's up to. And while I do that, I'm gonna play y'all some good old StreamYard royalty-free music. Let's go acoustic cinematic, I think. Let's try. Oh yeah. Oh, that's weird. I'm not playing that. Okay. That's not what I thought that was gonna be. And I need to. StreamYard is getting out of control. I need to take a comment off. I don't like acoustic. What is this? Acoustic cinematic? That's not what that promises to be. I don't like that at all. I'm gonna pull Morgan in.
Oh, I was just pulling myself in at the same time, but like,
no.
This is beautiful. I also did not remember that I had signed into a different StreamYard account and then to like desperately try to get the code. But this is beautiful. I feel like I'm in like a spa. all your worries.
But do you think this should be titled Acoustic Cinematic?
No.
You think that's what that's delivering?
No, I don't think so.
I was picturing like an acoustic guitar, like a John Mayer tune of some
That
kind.
doesn't seem unreasonable to consider.
Well, we're going to take Acoustic Cinematic out because it is not what it promises to be.
we gotta start pumping up the volume with some of these sounds.
Let's see, dance pop. Oh, yeah, that one's kind of
Party Alex is gonna have a hard time dancing to that though.
I don't know if we can find any. Oh, I think it's starting to kick in.
Okay.
Okay. Well,
she's still gonna struggle.
okay, let's see if we can find something that would be
some shoulder action. I think is all you can get.
No, I don't think this is Party Alex either. Okay,
this is like elevator music. This is hold music, is what it is.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Party Alex is like taking shots while she's on the hold with her bank. I'm unstoppable.
Yeah, I don't really know if there's anything here that Party Girl Alex would be into. I don't think that's taken her out into trouble where she goes to get arrested.
I don't think so either.
Oh, wow. Okay. That is something else. Okay, so I think I need to start a couple of things in the chat. If somebody wants to help out New Rachel, what was the song that played when Alex was partying in that flashback? Actually, hang on. Let me see. While we're here, let me see if I can find it.
It wasn't any of the ones we just played. That's for sure.
No, StreamYard needs to up its game on the
license-free music.
Oh, great. My keyboard N key is stuck again. Well, here's what somebody can do if they want to, since my N key on the keyboard is stuck and I can't do it. You can go to TuneFind, look up TuneFind, and then Supergirl Manhunter, and that usually will pop up the music that is in the episode. So if anybody wants to do that for me, that would be great, because my keyboard is sticking on the keys, and I can't use the N for TuneFind. That's a little difficult. So if anybody wants to look that up, help out New Rachel find what music that is. All right. Well, I guess we should go ahead and get started here, because we've got a lot of things to talk about, because there's a lot happening in this episode. So let's officially get started here.
Leslie Lar's downfall is just that eyebrow twitch that she can't help doing. Could you imagine if Hope was like, let's add that to the PowerPoint? Excuse
What
me?
year is it?
How old am I? This is how the podcast breaks up.
This is the last episode of Supergirl Radio. You want a Kryptonian? You got one.
Is it a movie about saving Argo? The answer to that one is no. It's called Witch for a Summer! ! Where does she want to go? Ask her. Talk to her. Really commune with flat Supergirl.
Did we set the bar too high or too low?
I think we set the bar real medium.
You're doing an intensely adequate podcast.
Good.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Noyce, and you're listening to Supergirl Radio.
Gerk! I
Do
love
not
typing.
mess with my Google Docs, Meeksy.
Supergirl Radio is going live every night of the week. How do you like it? Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Kira. I love that.
So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom, because
She looks like a boss in this coat.
Is Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
no.
Helen Slater here. So fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.
Welcome to Supergirl Radio, your source for all things related to the CW Supergirl TV series or the CBS Supergirl TV series in this series that we are doing and the character of Kara Zor-el. My name is Rebecca Johnson.
I'm Morgan Glennon.
And for this episode of the podcast, we are live and wired on the Supergirl Radio Facebook page and the DCTV Podcast YouTube channel to go back in time. Since Morgan didn't review Supergirl episodes as a full-time co-host of Supergirl Radio until World's Finest, which aired in March of 2016, we're revisiting the first season to get Morgan's thoughts. This week, we will be discussing this is episode 17 of season 1. Got to do my math right. Episode 17 of season 1, which is titled Manhunter. If you're interested in listening to Supergirl Radio's original discussion from season 1, the link is in the video description below the live stream and will be in the audio podcast show notes. So if you want to go check that out, I recommend that you do so. But let's we're just going to get straight to it in this episode. So let's buckle up in the Legion cruiser, and we need to go back to March 21st, 2016. Okay, so we haven't done any time traveling in a while.
It's
so
been a while. I wasn't ready for it.
I kind of forgot what it was like. So we are now back in 2016, specifically March 21st, when this episode originally aired. So here's the official description of Manhunter. Quote, Jean Jones reveals the details of meeting Kara and Alex's father, Dr. Jeremiah Danvers, played by Dean Cain, and assuming Hank Henshaw's identity. Also, Kara debates trusting someone new with her secret identity, and Siobhan, played by Italia Ricci, plots against Kara, unquote. Okay, so I was going to maybe start with the Jean Martian Manhunter stuff. That seems like a big part of this episode. But since we're kind of there with Siobhan, I'm very curious
with her.
I'm very curious, Morgan. Let's start talking about Siobhan because I want your thoughts on this. So Siobhan, real bitter about Red K Kara,
Super mad,
helping her get fired. So now she
not taking a lot of personal responsibility, by the way, that she was trying to take a story to a direct competitor behind Kat's back. No mention of that whatsoever. It's just like, I can't believe that Kara got me fired. Fired for what, Siobhan? Fired for what?
So what did you think about her trying to frame Kara and then Kat figuring some stuff out?
Her trying to frame Kara was very funny in that the way that they apparently discover that she tried to frame Kara makes no sense to me. Maybe I'm just not smart enough with keystroke software or whatever, but this is the first time in many episodes where I'm like, we need to keep a better eye on Win, right? We gotta, he shouldn't be like, Kara doesn't type that many words per minute. She's actually quite a bad typist. It's like, why do you know that?
Who's
like,
keeping track of this?
Is that not like a red flag there that he knows Kara's like typing pattern? He's like, you know what? You don't type like Kara. It's like, how do you know how she types? No reasons, normal reasons. I didn't install anything on her computer. When? No one asked if you did. Great. I didn't. That part made me laugh so hard at the end where it's like, ha ha, well, I got you. It's like, wait a minute, do we want to rewind about how we got her though? How we got her? Should Kara be like concerned? Is there like a lot of spyware on her computer that she doesn't know about? Wynn's like, oh yeah, totally. What?
When I'm at work, are they like keeping analytics on how fast I type? Is that
Right?
Is that what I'm supposed to take this away?
Is that a normal thing to be tracking? Does it matter?
Do I need to be typing faster? Am I not
Is
carrying
Kara
the
like
weight?
suddenly a transcriptionist now that her words per minute matter? Like, why do they have data on that? That's so weird.
Also, why is Supergirl not using her super speed to super type?
She really doesn't care about this job, Rebecca.
I mean, I guess that would give her away if somebody is tracking her, but
Kara's like, I'm normal in every way. In fact, I'm a little slow to type. That's what people are like. Boop, boop, boop. I love it. Now I have this like mental image of like somebody walking by her keyboard and she's just like Hunt and Peck style. Boop, boop, boop. What normal people do.
she's got a lot of errors, a lot of spelling, grammatical errors.
It's because she'll only hit one key at a time. She refuses to type like a normal. She's like, nope, nope, nope.
Yeah, the other thing that I thought was weird was how is Siobhan getting back into Catco? Did Cat not take? I assume maybe this is just me putting this on the show, but like, wouldn't she have like an ID badge that she couldn't come in? I mean, Cat probably wouldn't let her in the building again. So how's she getting in there?
Yeah, that was my question as well. Like, what? And didn't they like escort her out or something the last episode? Like, didn't she have to? Wouldn't you think that she would have to like pack up her stuff and like hand in her key card?
Yeah.
They're just, I guess, despite the fact that she literally did some corporate espionage, they're like, you know what? I think we can trust her. She's not coming back. And then like she just like Carmen Sandiego goes into the building with like a hat on or something.
I wish she had done that.
Coming in.
Also, why would they need to track her typing pattern when I'm sure they had like security cameras? They would know that she was in there, and couldn't they see that she was at the like?
What
the
would have made
desk?
way more sense was like, hey, this email that I got from Kara is super out of character, and also I don't think she knows that many swear words. So we looked at the tape and we saw you on our security camera in the lobby, walking in with your fedora, and so
5 minutes before the email was sent.
So we knew it was probably you. And instead they're like, no, the tracking software that I installed in Kara's computer for totally normal reasons and not
only
to connect
Kara's
with
computer.
Not to connect with her in some way or like get her favorite food or buy her favorite flowers. So she thought I was like so thoughtful and we were like so in sync. No. The totally normal spyware I have on my friend's computer told me that it couldn't possibly be her because we know how she be hunting and pecking. Kara types at one word per 10 minutes, and so it could not have been her. That email would have taken an hour.
She finishes one email and then she leaves to
And
go.
then she's like, "Ooh, done for the day." That would have been her work for the entire day. That email.
Yeah, I think it's funny about this episode, and I'm curious what you think about it. But the Martian Manhunter stuff and the Alex stuff was so good. It
So
was
good, yeah.
like so purposeful, and everything was trying to explain a lot of the mythology of the show. And for me, the Siobhan stuff on the rewatch, I was like, I don't buy any of this. Like, I don't believe any of this.
And also, like, Wynn is out to like brunch with Siobhan. She's like, I hate Kara. I want to kill her. I have plans in place. I'm going to murder her. And Wynn's like, you're so pretty. Wynn, could you be a good friend at any point in this process? You got spyware on Kara's machine. You're letting your new girlfriend threaten to kill her. Like, could you just like clue into what's happening for like a second?
He also told Siobhan that she just needed a goal to work towards. And I was like, no, don't tell her that.
You've
Her goal is going to be
motivated
to kill
her.
Kara.
You've just motivated her. Yeah, the Siobhan stuff, I think, on rewatch was like a little bit ridiculous. And then obviously the twist at the end is that Siobhan is like on the roof and she's drinking, she's drunk, and Wynn is like, don't do it, don't jump, it's not worth it. And she's like, oh, listen, I'm not gonna jump. You might jump, I'm not gonna jump. And then of course immediately like breaks a heel and falls off. Like everyone could see that coming from a mile away. She was like, you are just not a good person. And she's like slowly like backing up towards the end of the roof. And you're like, come on, we can see we know what's gonna, just get there. Don't even bother. Just get there. Of course I never jump. It's like, we know she's gonna fall. And then her scream cushions her fall. Now this created a question for me. Is she, and I don't remember because again, we're in the past, but for future Morgan, the past is so long ago.
Yes.
For me, it's right now, right? But for future Morgan,
right?
Maybe she doesn't remember. Was Siobhan a meta? Is that what the ultimate explanation is for like why she has power? Because I thought it was going to be, my vague memory was like it was like a Leslie Willis like live wire situation where like something happens to her and then she gets the Banshee powers. But it seems like she just kind of had them inside of her all along, and she just had to get a little tipsy for them to come out and save her.
So I don't want to spoil myself for the future.
Yeah, of course. No, of course not.
But I believe that's explained in an upcoming episode.
Fascinating.
So we may have to get there in order to get that answer. But I believe it is explained. And I think it has something to do, I think it's somewhat faithful to one of the tellings of Silver Banshee in the comics related to her ancestry.
Ooh. That's
so
fun.
I think that just sort of brought it out. She has a family connection to these powers, and then the fall sort of brings it out.
I see a comment from Rachel that says if she didn't have powers, she would have ended up like OG Kelly. And I just want to say to that, too soon. For us in the past, for sure, because we don't even know what are you OG Kelly? Okay.
Wait, why is she OG? This is the only Kelly we know.
How many Kellys are there in this show?
Yeah, so the thing that I thought was really interesting upon rewatch from the future into the past now, what I think is interesting, it's hard to keep that up.
It is.
But what I think is interesting is, to me, when I was rewatching it, is that in the pilot, Kara's up on the roof of Catco with Wynn, and she intentionally jumps off the building to reveal her powers to Wynn. This time around, Wynn is up on top of the roof with Siobhan. Siobhan accidentally falls off, but her powers come out. So I thought that was a neat, I don't know if that was their intention, but I sort of saw that as a slight inversion of Kara and Wynn in the pilot, which I think is very fitting because Siobhan sort of almost single white female to Kara. So it's
true.
To me, that's interesting that she would even single white female her back to the pilot. So I don't know. I thought that was a really neat thing. So I would like to think that they intended for that to be similar, but I don't know. But I don't think I had seen that before. And so rewatching it sort of brought that out. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that's a great observation, because I also kind of thought when he is initially up there on the roof, that's like the scene from the pilot with him and Kara, and then I kind of forgot about it. But like, yeah, I like the way that I feel like they did a lot of that in season 1, where they would like call back to the pilot a little bit, and I always really like it because I love those like full circle moments.
Yeah, that it makes it very layered. And CM Gutier 74 says in the chat, so that means no one should stand on a roof with Wynn. Noted. Yes, I would not suggest it. I think it's definitely something. If Wynn wants you to go up on a roof, just
Don't
know
do
you're going to fall off it. You're
going off that roof.
So don't do that. So yeah, I guess we'll see what happens to Siobhan the next go around. But I thought since she was at the very end of the description, maybe we should start with her. So things are picking up with Siobhan. But let's get to talking about the main sort of chunk. I would guess the A story. Would you call it the A story about Martian Manhunter?
Yeah, I think so.
I guess maybe Alex is maybe the B story, Siobhan the C story, or there's also a Kara story in there,
and there's a Lucy story as well.
Yeah,
there's a lot of layers. This is like a 7-layer dip.
So let's talk about Martian Manhunter. So Morgan, what are your thoughts about getting to see the origins of how Martian Manhunter John Jones became Hank Henshaw?
I thought that was really cool because they explain it in a previous episode, and I honestly did not remember there were so many flashbacks in this one. So I thought like, okay, that was the explanation that we got. But so being able to flash back and see like the full story of how Jean becomes Hank Henshaw, that was pretty cool. And I thought that there were so many flashbacks in this episode, more than I remembered 100%, where I was like, whoa, we're getting another flashback. Look at them. Budget.
So they flash back to Jean meeting Jeremiah. They flash back to party girl Alex. They flash back to young Alex and young Kara. And then they also flash back to Kara's first day at Catco.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Yes. There were a lot of them in this one, and it didn't feel like it was like a complete flashback episode, which is actually, I think, pretty impressive that like the flashbacks weaved into the story of like what you're watching. So it was like, that's probably why I didn't remember this one having so many, because I didn't think of it as being like, oh, that's the flashback episode where there's just a ton of flashbacks, because they were woven into the story so well to like, instead of having a character be like, this is what I was doing this 3 years ago. Instead, you had Alex being like, shot. and then Hank like pops up and goes, everybody. It did make the Alex part of it made me laugh incredibly, because every time I see stuff from her flashbacks, I just think about how our listeners have pointed out, like the implausibility of her timeline, like the fundamental implausibility of her timeline, that like 3 years ago, she was like a hardcore party girl getting drunk all the time and like losing her keys, while what was she like simultaneously getting like a PhD? Like what was happening?
I think Hank calls her a scientist, or refers to her doing science, that she wouldn't be talking to a priest because scientists are skeptics, I think is what he says. Yeah.
Like the amount that Alex has achieved in her life, truly an inspiration.
And when she goes to the DO, she has to get trained on the job. So it's not like like all of that happens very quickly. So,
he's like, when you can take me down, and she's like, don't worry, on my timetable, tomorrow. Because I don't even remember where, like, how old she's supposed to be by now, but it's too young, I think, is the long and short of it, based on all of the things that she's accomplished in that time. We always forget that Alex is our baby genius, and this episode reminded me of it, because I was like, 3 years ago? What? Wait,
I think she's probably late 20s.
I think so.
I think, because isn't Kara supposed to, and the live chat can check me, but I think she's supposed to be 24, Kara. So Alex would probably be older than her. So I'm assuming Alex is late 20s, but I'm not totally sure. But if she's in her late 20s, why is she out partying like she is? Shouldn't she know better?
Isn't she tired by now? I was tired by my late 20s. My Golden Girls years set in fast. I guess I just assume everyone's like me. But I thought that was, I loved the John flashbacks were really interesting too, because I really liked the way that they told that story so quickly, but I think so effectively, of like him saving Jeremiah from that snake in the jungle, that Jeremiah was like, guess I just gotta die now. Like, dude, it didn't even look like a fast snake. Get up.
He's like a military guy. They don't train him how to deal with snakes.
The best. He was like, oh, my gun doesn't work. Oh God, how do knives work? Well, The end. He gave up faster than that one girl was like, hey, take me over.
I guess I'm evil now.
Bye-bye, Grace. But I think that like the way that they connected over having daughters, I think that was so smart because they've brought this parallel into the show before, that John had 2 young daughters and that Alex and Kara remind him of them, and so allowing them to like connect on that level so quickly, like, oh, okay, like obviously they can kind of understand each other as like fathers trying to protect their kids or who weren't able to protect their kids. And I think that makes sense for why Jeremiah would like turn so quickly and be like, okay, this guy's solid. And I think it does kind of prove to you like what a jerk Hank Henshaw is, that it like wants to kill this guy even though he is not trying anything. He's not, he's not fighting back even really. He's like, I guess I got to kill him fast. And his really seems like his only reason for wanting to do that is because Superman's like, Martians are strong. And he's like, well, not for my fancy gun.
Well, we do have a question about that in the chat. CM Gutier 74 says, while in Peru, OG Hank told John that Superman called him the most powerful being on the face of the earth. Do we know when Superman and John met each other before? Ooh, that's a good question. I know when Tyler Hoechlin's Superman does arrive on Supergirl, he has a moment with Martian Manhunter. But I'll have to look that up. Give me some time to fact check that, and I'll see if I can find the answer for next time. But
we got a hilarious fact check in here in the chat, which Aaron says, I think Alex was 28 in season 2.
Oh.
So maybe she's closer to mid-20s pre-season 1.
So maybe she's only like 2 years older than Kara, do you think? Because when Kara, okay, this is so in season 6, when Kara is thinking about going to college and trying to tell Kenny Lee that they're not going to go to the same college, Kara's in high school. She's a senior. Alex is already in college.
Yes.
So she has to be 1 to 3 or 4 years older, in somewhere in that range.
Yeah, I think so. I think if we assume that she's 28 in season 2, so maybe she's 27 in season 1, then that flashback happened when she was like 24, which does make a little bit more sense timeline-wise, where it's like, woo, let's all do shots. She hasn't gotten to the point where like just looking at a shot makes your body start breaking down. But it's
that makes more sense. Okay, I'll give it that. That timeline checks out.
I don't know if it checks out with her accomplishments.
No, the partying though
he has later on, but the partying for sure.
That seems right. Also, talking about the snake, Daryl says, according to the Supergirl wiki, it wasn't even the right snake for the region. Download an app called iNaturalist. It's a free app. You can take a picture of the screenshot. And I might do this just for fun. You can take a screenshot of the snake from Supergirl, upload it to iNaturalist, and see what the artificial intelligence in that app tells you what it is. You might figure out the answer. So that's really interesting that someone, I guess some snake enthusiast was like, no, that's not right.
Wait a minute. That snake wouldn't be in that jungle.
So that's pretty cool. So I did think it was interesting that the original Hank Henshaw even sort of looked differently. His hair was different, I thought. From, the way David Harewood would play Jean playing Hank Henshaw. So I liked that little detail.
Yeah, I feel like I could tell the difference between like Hank Henshaw and Jean later on. Like they definitely like carried themselves a little bit differently, and I think Hank Henshaw just seemed like way more severe and like tough, like kind of tough, and like somebody who wouldn't want to like listen to reason, which makes sense because Jeremiah, who was like on his team, was like, hey, this guy is solid, and he's like, well, sorry, guess I gotta stab you.
Well, what I thought was neat about Jeremiah initially when they're planning out their mission at the DEO, and after all the other guys have left, Jeremiah tells him like, "Hey, why are we going to just go straight to killing this alien? He's been here for a long time. There's a lot of things that he probably knows." And I was like,
Yeah.
"That's a really good point, Jeremiah Danvers. Why would you waste all that knowledge if this guy's been around?" To see all the things that have happened, he could tell us if all the historical documents were correct. He could give us information about things we don't have historical documentation on. That he would be a really good resource. He'd be an eyewitness to things.
I think this is also a really interesting point because they make a big deal of talking about, I think Alex says like, "Oh, I've been working with him for like 2 or 3 years and he has been like, he's the best space dad a girl could ask for." And the guy is like, "Well, he's 300 years old, so like your space dadding is just a coffee break to him." And I was like, we really never do dive into the fact that he's 300 years old, like at any point throughout the run of Supergirl. It doesn't feel like, because like, how long has he been on Earth? I think that brings up a good point that like you're saying, like, has he been here for hundreds of years? Like, is there like, does he have wisdom about like the history of the Earth that he could share, that he just, he chooses to sit on that because he's like a mysterious man of few words, not mentioned at any point in the future of the show. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. I was like, oh, I don't know that I like had connected how old he was until that scene where I was like, he's 300.
I have 2 questions now. One, did they ever address him knowing about Ramakhan? Because Ramakhan also an ancient being.
I feel like we lost an opportunity for like Hank and Ramakhan to have been Rama bros like back in the day. Like this could have been an emotional story about, he's like, my bro Ramakhan, he's really gone astray. Like back in the day, we would just sip wine out in his vineyards. He was a chill dude. Like what happened to him? Ramakhan comes up and he's like, they're ruining my soil. I feel like there were some missed opportunities.
And number 2, Jean had all those books in his new fancy apartment thing that also became a ship somehow. But I wonder if he could have made a lot of money, because he had a lot of wealth. Jean Jones somehow had a lot of money to turn his apartment into a spaceship.
Oh,
so
yeah.
If it had been my story, I would have had him writing historical fiction books. Using the knowledge that he had. And so then he's like a best-selling author making a lot of money, and that pays for the tower.
They could have had him have like a Mick situation from Legends of Tomorrow, where Mick becomes a romance novelist.
Oh yeah,
under the pseudonym of Rebecca Silver.
Oh, okay.
like Jean could have had his own like side, like his historical fiction books that are like huge bestsellers, like his own Outlander, and then and then he could have been like writing under a pseudonym or something. But like people every now and then when they're walking around, people like spot him and they're like, oh my God, I loved that part in the book where, like in the Revolutionary War, but they were on opposite sides, but it was so forbidden. And John's like, I do not know what you are talking about. And like just poofs, flies off into the air.
I
feel like
that
those are
an
some
excuse.
Yeah,
or as a reasoning for his great wealth.
That would have answered so many questions we had later on in the series where we were like, doesn't it seem like that would cost a lot of money? Where is he getting this money? Did the DEO pay that well? And it's like, no, but his books, the residuals, his book gets made into a movie, and they're walking past the movie poster, and Alex is like, oh, I can't wait to see it. And John was like, I will never see it. The changes that they made from the book are unconscionable. And they're like, I didn't know that you cared that much. I don't care.
Yeah, that would be really funny. Laura also has a reasoning for it, saying, I keep saying playing the market is easy when you can read the minds of CEOs.
Oh.
It could be like a Biff Tannen thing from Back to the Future, where he's got the almanac. Boom.
That's true.
Then you get alternate timeline Biff, who has the casino and he's super wealthy. It makes sense to me.
I see Hagelblass also has a good theory, which is not untrue, where Jean lived at the DEO for years with basically no living expenses. He probably banked his entire salary as Hank.
True, true.
That's also true. Listen, he's got a lot of revenue streams, is what we're learning from the chat. But I also would have liked it, as Rachel says in the chat, if Jean writes detective novels the same way that Mick writes romance novels.
Why? Why would they not do that?
It's right there, people.
Oh my gosh. That would have actually played into Jean Jones' detectiving.
Exactly.
That is in the character's history, and they sort of kind of tried to do it on the show, but not really.
And then they kind of gave it up.
Yeah.
He could have been
awesome.
like, I'm going to start a detective agency, just like in my nothing. Making nothing.
I would have loved it because they could have really taken that pretty far. I know we're like going past.
We're so far into our own head canon, but I have to say before we give this up, we know he has a dark secret.
That could be it.
What if it's that he writes detective novels under a pseudonym?
I would have loved it if they had played with like a, I don't want to say like an Alexander McCoy thing. But like
say it.
But if he had created some like detective novel series where his lead detective had like a string of novels, and then they did do something where like it was either like a big movie franchise, or like it turned out there was a real guy who was that character. So I don't know. So you could play with it, but I think that would have been really cool. So that seems like a missed opportunity, but
such a missed opportunity.
What were we talking about? I'm trying to like dial back where we came from.
Flashback.
I guess one thing I'm curious about, Morgan, what are your thoughts about, because we get the flashback with Jeremiah Danvers and him giving Kara her glasses to help with her vision, I guess, to help prevent her like seeing people's x-rayed bodies and things like that. What did you think about him giving her those glasses?
I liked this moment because she talks about it often throughout the run of the show about how he gave her the glasses, and we know the big significance of the glasses. But being able to see it happen, like have that flashback where it happens, I think was really impactful to watch. And I liked that full flashback for her. I think made like a huge difference in like how I like view the character and what she had been doing up until the like beginning of the show. That she, got to Earth and she didn't really know what was happening. And she had this cool older sister who's like too cool for her. And she's like super weird, like, oh my God, a son. And, and
I've never seen birds before.
What are birds? Alex turns and she goes, those aren't real. Go straight down to conspiracy theory land. But the idea that she had tried to save people and use her powers for good. And her parents were like, you can't just be saving people out of burning cars like all the time. It's going to get suspicious. And the way that they filmed like little Kara like jumping on the car and like ripping the girl out and like ripping the baby out, honestly, it was a little creepy. It was like borderline scary to see like a little girl with that much strength.
So like possessed.
She did, right? So I was like, yeah, honestly, I would be a little bit afraid of that little girl if she came up to me and she's like, I'll save you. I'm like, oh God, please don't. So I think it kind of gives a backstory on why Kara spent so much time trying to be normal and why she wasn't using her powers up until the plane crash with Alex. And I think, having that experience and having her adoptive dad essentially be like, hey, you got to cool it with like the huge displays of super strength, and giving her those glasses. And then, we cut right to her having the glasses on in the elevator for the cat interview. And I think that told so much in like such a short amount of time. Like neither of those flashbacks were super long, but they told us so much about Kara's character.
Yeah, there wasn't a ton of Kara stuff in here, but this episode did a lot for Kara as a character as she grew up. So I thought the Kara stuff in this episode was really great. Hagelblast in the chat says the Kara flashback was filmed as part of the pilot and cut as part of getting the episode down to 1 hour of broadcast time. Using it here meant saving money by using existing footage. Well, and if that's the case, I think it's actually a good use of it here. It felt like it was meant to be in this episode because it was utilizing Jeremiah Danvers and his connection to Kara. So I really, really liked that. Also, before we leave the Jeremiah portion of it, I thought it was funny that he mentions to Jean about fire. They have a conversation about how Martian Manhunter doesn't really like fire, and it just made me laugh knowing season 6 made him throw the hope or made him go up to the sun. The Supergirl threw it into the hope totem into the sun, but Martian Manhunter was going to be doing something with the sun. So I thought it was funny here when they established Martian Manhunter's most of his backstory and his origin. They established pretty firmly that he was not a big fan of fire, and they kind of abandoned that later on in the show.
Maybe he got over he faced his fears eventually throughout the show, and then he was like, "I can finally throw this thing right into the sun." Let's yeet it into the sun. CM Gutierrez says, a hero young Kara jumping on the car reminded me of Megan from the Megan movie where the little robotic doll is evil. And yeah, that was kind of the vibe. I got a little bit of a Uncanny Valley like horror movie vibe from like the little girl like ripping open the door and flinging it.
Well, she would have that strength, and I like that the hopping onto the car was probably an indicator that she had not flown yet, is my guess. So her hopping and sort of jumping was more of her kind of doing that super jumping before she flies, like Superman does in the comics and things like, Superman Returns, Man of Steel, Smallville, you name it. That's usually kind of the progression to the powers to flight. So it is creepy, and I can see why Jeremiah was like, that's the only time you get to do that.
Don't do that. Yeah, the other thing I really liked about that scene in terms of like the physicality telling you the story is that like we see Kara save people from like burning things all the time, burning cars, burning buildings. We don't see her fling a car door like 3 miles away. So it kind of told you that like she's new to Earth. She's new to these powers. She doesn't quite know her own strength. She doesn't know that like, hey, if you're saving somebody, you could just be like, oh, I guess it was adrenaline. I like opened the door instead of flinging the door, I don't know, like into the sea or whatever she did.
Yeah, she definitely used her strength to the fullest capacity in that moment. So lots of good flashbacks. Is there anything about the flashbacks that you wanted to talk about before we moved on?
I was surprised that Alex got thrown in jail, and I wanted to know what was it like. Just public drunkenness? She did not even she did not get into her car.
True.
So it wasn't a DUI. She like dropped her keys and then she was like, uh-oh. And I was just wondering, like they never define it. She's just in the jail cell, and I was like,
yeah,
I mean, public drunkenness, maybe. She didn't seem like she was making a scene though. She just had a bad night.
maybe she had done something inside the club.
Now I want to go like flashback where she like she like rips out some girl's hair or something. She gets in a fight and she like takes off her earrings. She's like, I'm ready. Let's do it. One more shot first.
I feel like somebody called the cops on her from inside the club and the cops pulled up on her.
I feel like it was like maybe like we flashed out before it became like a Buffy and Faith situation where they're dancing, but they're also hitting people at the same time.
Yeah,
getting into a fight as they dance.
Yeah, Hagelblast in the chat says drunk Alex seems like someone who would punch someone. Yeah, so I think I agree though. It was not clear on why because she went to jail. It wasn't like she got a ticket or something. They took her right to jail. She sat in a jail cell.
Right? That's how I was like, really? You wouldn't just Don't want to just call this poor drunk girl a cab instead. you gotta like lock her up for what? But now it's my headcanon that she caused it. Like in the doors inside when they open, there's like screaming and people like throwing bottles at each other, and it all started for Alex was like patient zero in that, and she's just like, okay, time to go home.
She started the fight and then ducked out.
Exactly. She's all right. Time for me to go home.
That is the only explanation I can think of. I guess before we get out of here and go back to the future, I'm curious about your thoughts on Supergirl revealing herself as Kara to Lucy Lane. Or I guess Kara maybe revealing herself as Supergirl to Lucy Lane.
I feel like somewhere in the future, Lena Luthor is like, "Are you serious?" And then she just like smashes a photo of the two of them with like a decanter of bourbon or something.
Whiskey, yes.
Yeah. How dare you? Every time this happens, she's like, no. And she's just like crushes a glass in her hand or something. So
she just has a lot of framed pictures with like broken glass all over her office.
She gets out her darts and throws them into like another framed picture of her and Kara. And then the next day her like assistant is like, oh God, I gotta reframe this.
Just don't put glass in them anymore.
Exactly. I feel like being Lena Luthor's personal assistant is worse than Cat Grant's because of just like the absolute nonsense that you come in and you're like, oh no, is she like creating a mind control device again? I told her about this. It's not legal. The legal department said no, Lena. But yeah, I thought it was funny that Lucy is so against John because he is pretending to be Hank, and they're shipping him and Alex off to Project Cadmus where they're gonna like dissect them. And we'll need to talk about Project Cadmus in a minute. But it was weird that like her first thought was to win Lucy over. She's very mad that this guy pretended to be someone else when he was really a different person.
Mm-hmm.
He was really an alien. The way I'm going to win her over is by revealing that I have also been pretending to be someone else, and I am too an alien. It's all of us, baby. It's all of us. It's like Lucy barely likes Kara, right? Like she kind of like low key hates Kara, and like I think like a little bit she was like, oh, Kara's sister, let's get her. And then like she's like, the big reveal, the way I'm gonna win her over, I'm gonna get her trust back, is by being like, guess what? I've been lying to you this whole time. You know how you were really paranoid about James being in love with Supergirl because about how James falls in love with all superheroes, like my cousin? Well, guess what? He was in love with me the whole time. I was both. I ruined your life in two different ways. It just didn't seem like the natural way to win someone over to me. I was like, Kara, are you sure that this is going to work the way you think it does? And Kara's like, Morgan, shh, hope. And it worked. So what do I know?
Yeah, I did think it was funny that they kept making a big deal, the DEO and Colonel Harper and Major Lane, they all kept making a big deal about the aliens that were inside the government and doing all this. And I'm like, in a couple of years, the president of the United States is going to be an alien.
Lucy's going to be so mad then. How does this keep happening to me?
Yeah, I thought that was so funny. But yeah, I guess it's good that Lucy knows and she can be part of the solution now. But I did think it was pretty funny that that Car didn't try to find another way around that to go and help Alex and Jean. But she utilized Lucy by telling her the secret. The one thing I'll also say about Lucy that I thought was kind of strange is in the interrogation room, they're using a lie detector test, it looks like. And so the lie detector test says that Alex was telling the truth. No problems, documented, good. She's good to go. And then Lucy's like, no, I think you're lying to me. And then that's why they arrested her. And I was like, Wait, you're arresting her on a hunch? You're not arresting her because it said she lied on the lie detector test?
This drove me crazy because I was like, I expected there to be a twist where it was like, I knew that you were getting one over on the lie detector test by pinching yourself until you cried or something something weird. Like your heartbeat has slowed down past that of a normal person. You're a Zen master, Alex. I know it. Which, by the way, lie detector tests as a true crime girly, notoriously unreliable. So that part I totally bought, that she was able to get one over on the lie detector test. But Lucy was like, I know you're lying. And they were like, no follow-up. There was no follow-up question. It was like, how? Why? Lucy was just like, I just know it, brah. You gotta believe me. And he was like, you know what? I do believe you. You've got honest, kind eyes. You wouldn't lie to me.
I was like, that's not going to hold up in any kind of court of law.
Well, they don't have to. They don't have to hold up.
True.
They're sending them to a black site. They're going to open them up and experiment.
That is true. But yeah, I was so mad about that. I was like, you've got to give me something to make me believe that they have something on that.
I felt Alex. I legitimately felt like I missed a scene and I rewound and I still was like, nope, no, that's what happened. There was nothing. There was no line of dialogue I missed this time.
No, so that was weird. In the live chat, New Rachel says, Jim Harper had a superhero name in the comics. Do you remember what it was? I sure do. He was the original Guardian.
Twist!
Yeah, so he had the Newsboy Legion and all of that. So it's a missed opportunity, I think, to connect this Jim Harper to James in season 2 when he becomes Guardian, which I'm just guessing is happening in the future.
Maybe.
Season 2. Maybe that happens.
What do you mean? Jimmy becomes a superhero? Oh, you just blew my mind.
What?
I love this comment from Daryl in the chat that says the DEO definitely doesn't deal with the courts of law. No, they just kind of do what they want. They're operating mostly on vibes, for sure.
I mean, that's what it was with Lucy.
She was like, you know what? This machine tells me you're right, but I feel you're wrong. And I have never been wrong about anyone, especially not Kara, mild-mannered reporter.
I also did think it was funny that Lucy Lane is temporary director of the DEO here. Alex is
everybody at some point is temporary director of the DEO. That's the truth. Who isn't temporary director of the DEO? I'm surprised that what's her name? The background worker at the DEO,
Agent Vasquez.
Yeah, who often has lines. It's amazing to me that Agent Vasquez never got to be director of the DEO. I feel like she would have had some
she would have been good, I think.
I think she had a whole binder in place that she was ready to just I'm gonna do it, and then it just never came to her.
I will say Vasquez was good in this episode because Supergirl's like, you gotta let me in there. I gotta be able to hear what's in that interrogation room. And Vasquez is like, no, I will not do it.
I could absolutely not do that.
Winky face.
And then she storms off and Kara's like, I liked her. She's completely thrown off by it for a second. And then she's like, oh. Kara's really bad at that kind of stuff.
But Vasquez was good. I would have loved it though if they were asking for people to take over as director of the DEO and Alex is raising her hand, wants to do it, really excited, and then they kind of scan the room and they're like, Vasquez, you do it.
Exactly. Vasquez is just walking through to go to the bathroom or something. They're like, Vasquez, I like the look of you. You're the director. Alex is like,
okay, all right,
spoiled again.
I would have loved that. Let's see. I guess before we get out of here and talk about some of the flashbacks, Seam Gutier asked the question, is the Rick in the beach flashback the same Rick from the episode Alex in season 2? And Aaron says, yes, I think it is. In fact, they use the same footage in Alex. So we haven't seen that episode.
Whatever that episode
We're
is.
in 2016, but that would be really cool if that was the case. And maybe it would be also cool if that was a play on Dick Malvern, but instead they called him Rick. I guess because they didn't want a character named Dick. I don't know.
Missed opportunity. I see a funny comment from Aaron in the chat who says, side note, Jim Harper is a character in the Aaron Sorkin show, The Newsroom, where someone made fun of him being Jimmy Olsen, and Jim corrected him saying, Jimmy Olsen is a photojournalist.
Huh.
Well, not on this show all the time. Maybe they were watching Supergirl and they're like, I don't think he is.
Jimmy was answering the phone in this episode.
That was one of my favorite moments in the whole episode, is when the phone rings and they just stare at each other and he's just like, fine. Like, I wish that they had played, unfortunately, the future, some future spoilers I heard. I don't know if this is true, but I've heard that Cat Grant isn't as available in the rest of the show.
Right. That would be
I can't
devastating.
imagine now where I'm sitting in 2016, but it does feel like anytime that Jimmy and Kat were in scenes together, they were always really funny. Like, they brought really funny things out of the characters. And I wish that they had more opportunities to have like Jimmy and Kat together, like, because Jimmy like really had a very low tolerance for her Cat Grantness, but he still like, at the end of the day would just like give into it and be like, fine. And watching her sit there with her, and then like when he answers, she like giggles as she takes a sip.
She got him to do it.
One again.
I like that. It shows that they had some history because they both worked at the Daily Planet together. So I really enjoy that. Well, Morgan, what are your overall thoughts on Manhunter?
I thought that this one was really good. I say it every season 1 episode, but season 1 was really solid.
They're
So I'm
crushing
not
it.
gonna apologize. But this one was really good. I loved the way that they used the flashbacks. It never felt like the flashbacks overwhelmed the story, or it never felt like, oh, this is the special flashback episode. They really wove really well into the story that the episode was telling. I liked the way that they used all the characters. I liked the way that they brought Lucy back, didn't explain why she had like a completely different job now, or how long she'd been in there, or how she got so high up. I guess her dad pulled some strings. She was just there. She was just in her little uniform. She was just mad at everyone. And I like how quickly she turned around and like went on the other side. And she was like, sure, some light crime. Why not? You're my new best friend because you revealed your secret? Girl, Manny Patties, Manny Panties, and like crime. I liked I thought that this episode was really well done overall, and I thought it showed really interesting sides of the characters, because this is really the first time that we learned that like Alex had like her dark Alex party girl phase that we up until this episode, I would have never guessed that Alex had this party girl phase in her life. And so I think this is the first time that we get a little bit of background on Alex, that, hey, maybe she wasn't always like in the DEO kind of straight laced. Maybe she had some demons that she dealt with when she was a little bit young, not much younger, mind you. Who knows? In some nebulous point in her life, between PhDs and running a secret government organization, she had the time to take some shots. But I think the John stuff, the Alex stuff, and the Kara stuff in this episode was fantastic. The Siobhan stuff was weird. But it didn't overwhelm the episode, and Cat Grant had a great dress during it, so I didn't want to complain.
Cat Grant had I should have like screen capped it. I guess we're gonna have to do Cat Grant boardroom or ballroom in season 1. We sort of missed that chance, but she had this great like pantsuit. It wasn't really a pantsuit; it was like brown pants with I think a black top. I was like, that is a great look. I was really surprised with the brown pants. I was like, that was great.
I also really liked the dress that she had that had like the little cutouts in it, where I spent the whole scene being like, are those like little appliques, or these like little rivets, or are those little cutouts? And I was like, I like the mystery of this dress. Like, sure. Am I watching the scene? Kind of. Am I paying more attention to the dress? Definitely.
Also, if Supergirl radio listeners do not know, Morgan is starting a Lena Luthor Boardroom or Ballroom Season 2 edition on our Instagram account. So definitely make sure you're following at Supergirl Radio on Instagram, because you're going to get some exclusive content over there with Morgan's commentary.
I have been trying to figure out the green screen effect on on Instagram. 2 to 3 years after everybody else has figured out how this thing works. And I was like, oh, do I have to duck to show the outfit? I do. Or I could be further away, but that seems hard. So I just duck. But yeah, that has been fun. I'm going to definitely do some more of those.
Yeah, because we did not have boardroom or ballroom in season 2.
We did.
It's probably a lot harder because she is mostly appropriate.
I think it's going to be a lot of boardroom, which is, I think, going to be very surprising for me. I think the ballroom really like burst its head onto the burst its way out on the scene, like end of season 2, beginning of season 3.
Yeah, it really kicked in season 3. Our ballroom, the Cat Grant edition. That would be fun.
Well, she's got some great outfits.
All right, well, we'll consider it. Yeah, I think this episode is great. The Siobhan stuff is kind of on the weaker end, but everything else is really stellar. Great episode of Supergirl in season 1. And I guess maybe from here, let's go into snap judgments while we're here, and then we'll go back to the future after that. So let's get into some snap judgments. In the game of snap judgments, each person is presented with 2 options, but must only choose one. First instincts are recommended and explanations are unnecessary.
Okay, so our first snap judgment is, who would you rather hit the town with? Party girl Alex or Red K Kara? This is a good one. This is a hard question.
Either one, I think you're going to end up in jail, I think, by the end of it. Although I think Red K Kara is dangerous.
Yeah, I think Red K Kara might accidentally kill you.
I think Red K Kara would be, she would get you into a lot of maybe fun trouble, but I think she'd also put you in some danger. So you might go to jail with Alex, but that's better than being murdered, I think. So I'm going to go Alex.
Yeah, I am not quite the danger person enough to want to hang out with Red K Kara. Also, I feel like at some point in the evening, like she's going to have one shot too many. And before her body metabolizes it, she's going to say something really like mean and cutting to you. She's going to like find the one thing that you're like really like self-conscious about. And she's just going to get that like a little dagger right in there. And I'm not looking for that on a night out. I want to have fun. You know who has fun? Party girl Alex. Shots. Okay. Who is cooler on a motorcycle? Kara or Lucy?
I really liked seeing Kara like take that motorcycle helmet off. I thought that was so cool. So I'm going to go Kara on the motorcycle.
Yeah, I gotta go Kara too, because when she took the motorcycle helmet off, she like did that thing where she tosses her hair and
a little Charlie's
perfect,
Angel.
like it perfectly went back into place. Whereas when Lucy took off her helmet, again, both of these are beautiful women. Lucy takes off her helmet, she shakes out her hair. It didn't go perfectly back into place. It was like still a little bit out of order, and it's like, well, that's what happens when you're not a Kryptonian. you're mortal like the rest of us. All right, last snap judgment. Which name drop are you more impressed by? Kat going to spin class with Sandy Bullock, or being on the phone and on a phone call and first name basis with Kate Middleton?
I assumed that's who she was talking about.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, she talks about her like, was it like her grandmother-in-law?
Yes.
Who would have been the queen? Yeah,
Queen
the queen.
Elizabeth II. Yes, the crown. I wish I could see Cat Grant go up against Sandra Bullock at spin class.
Yes.
I think it's more impressive that she was on her cell phone with Kate Middleton talking about the queen. So I'm going to go the queen and Kate Middleton here.
I'm going to go the queen and Kate Middleton too, because I like that she was like, she was shaming Kate Middleton for not making her a dame.
She wanted to be damed.
Like she was like, "What? Just because I'm American, I can't be a dame? What don't I have that Judi Dench does?" Like I love the energy there. I love it. It's so aggressive.
Well, I think if there's anybody who should have been tamed, it was Cat Grant.
Definitely Cat Grant.
All right, I think that's going to take us out of Snap. No judgments on your Snap judgments. All right, let's get to some feedback real quick, and then we'll wrap up this episode.
Sure. We have an email from Daryl who wrote in to say a Kim and Kanye reference last week and a Mel Gibson presenting at the Golden Globes reference this week. So dated. And this is why you don't drop timely pop culture references. That's editorializing from me. But I agree. Daryl goes on to say, I understand why Kat expected Kara to be there, even though Wynn told her Kara was sick. Remember in Human for a Day when Kara came right back to work after being dismissed for being sick? Kat knows Kara can bounce back quickly. Siobhan did something underhanded, got caught, and it's her own fault. That being said, it is a shame Silver Banshee only gets one episode to shine. James Harper, the true guardian. He walked so James and Kelly Olsen could run. Should John really go all red eyes in the middle of a room full of people? No, but I do want to say that there is a moment where Alex and Kara are talking very, very loudly about like some plan that they're making, like not even one step behind like all the DEO agents. So I feel like it's all of a piece. The Kara flashbacks were meant to be in the pilot, and that's so interesting. A generation should not be looked down on for receiving trophies they only have because the previous generation gave them to them. Thank you, Daryl. Thank you so much. And Lucy Lane has a big old chip on her shoulder, and I don't like it.
Yeah, it seems like she does. Well, thank you for that feedback, Daryl. And I think it's time for us to get back into the Legion Cruiser, and we need to go.
To snap for some reason. I was like, it's time.
Well, you can be in the Legion Cruiser snap.
Sure, I could do whatever I want. And buckle that seatbelt first.
You safety first. So we're gonna go back to 2023. All right, and now we need to get to some Supergirl Radio and some DC TV plugs. If you would like to contact Supergirl Radio, you can post a comment on our website at supergirlradio.com. You can email us at supergirlradio@gmail.com. If you'd like to leave us a voicemail, you can call us at 678-718-7252. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram, all at Supergirl Radio. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, Podchaser, and Spotify, where we also have a Spotify playlist that includes music featured on and inspired by the CW's Supergirl TV series. We are listed on DC's fan page, which you can find at dccomics.com/DC-fans. If you like what we do, we encourage you to give us a rating and write us a review on Apple Podcasts. If you enjoy our Supergirl Radio live streams, make sure to subscribe to the DC TV Podcast YouTube channel and hit that notification bell to get notified when we go live and wired. DC TV Podcast also has a TeePublic store, so if you're in need of new DC TV related t-shirts, tank tops, sweatshirts, onesies, mugs, notebooks, pillows, or stickers, go to supergirlradio.com and click on the TeePublic store link at the top of the page.
Hello, and thank you for calling the DC TV Podcast hotline. Please listen carefully as some of our menu options have changed. Supergirl Radio? Press 1. The Flash Podcast? Press 2. Legends of Tomorrow Podcast? Press 3. The Lithuanian Room? Press 4. DC on HBO Max Podcast? Press 5. Stargirl Podcast? Press 6. Superman and Lois Radio? Press 7. Green Lantern Podcast? Press 8. The Sandman Podcast? Press 9. Justice League Dark Podcast? Press 10. DC After Dark? Press 11. For all other inquiries, please stay on the line and the next available agent will be with you shortly.
Such a good song.
you're just living for it.
And since we talked about Manhunter, the episode in which Alex is recruited for the DEO and Jeremiah gives Kara her eyeglasses, we have some designs in the TeePublic store we'd like to suggest.
Yeah, we got some DEO merch, hoodies, t-shirts, stickers, mugs. We also have the same thing for a Funko version of Kara with her glasses. So if you want any of those designs, we've got them in the DCTV podcast, the TeePublic store, and I think they might be having a sale. So if you want to go check it out, this is a good time to buy stuff because sales happen pretty frequently on TeePublic. So definitely go look at our merch in the store. We'd also like to thank our legion of super sponsors for supporting the Supergirl Radio Patreon. These people are Michael, Anne Marie, Yvonne, Quinn, Nicola, Abby, Miriam, Nicole, Brian, Ethan, Danny, Tara, and Majuba. So thank you all for being supporters of the Supergirl Radio Patreon. And if you would like to check us out, go to patreon.com/Supergirl Radio, where we have some revamped levels that you can choose from. And we hope you will consider it. And thank you for your support. And I guess I can tell you about me. If you would like to follow me, you can do so on several ways. You can find me on a social media platform called Vero True Social. I hang out there, share what I'm watching, listening to, sometimes reading when I do that. So you can check me out over there at Derby Kid. You'll know that I just watched Murder Mystery 2 on Netflix and highly enjoyed it. So you would know those kinds of things if you follow me on Vero. You can also check me out on Instagram at The Derby Kid. And you can find me on YouTube and subscribe to my personal YouTube channel at youtube.com/TuckMilkProd. I recently finally finished my Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice Critical Reception project. Well, maybe I'm celebrating early. I finished reading the reviews, but I still have a couple of things to do to wrap up my thoughts on it. So I'm finished reading the reviews, so that's out of there. I read 39, I think.
Whoa.
So that project went on way longer than I expected. But I'm going to be doing some wrap-up videos where I talk about how I would fix film criticism, because it's definitely broken, and some of the books that I've been reading to help inform some things that have really made me rethink film criticism in a new light. So I'll be doing those coming up soon. I'm gonna kind of wait till I wrap it up, because I'm going to be going to Pasadena, California for what is commonly known as SnyderCon, which is a weekend-long screening of Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, and Zack Snyder's Justice League, where I hope to ask Zack Snyder about how he considers, how he determines what is a good or bad film. So I'm hoping to ask a question that could maybe also be something that would inform a follow-up or a conclusion to that bit in my series that I'm doing on Batman v Superman. So we'll see if that happens. But I will be doing some more live streaming. Just I'm in a kind of a TBD situation where I'm trying to figure out what to do next. So, but definitely subscribe if you want to come hang out with me on my personal YouTube channel.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Mojotastic. And you can also find me as a host on the Legends of Tomorrow podcast, aka the Legendary Lady podcast, where we're starting to think about changing, rebranding, if you will, changing stuff up, sprucing things up. But we just talked about an interesting topic, which is the disappearing queer characters, LGBTQ plus characters on TV, and actually how much of that was because of the CW kind of going under or getting sold, and like them canceling everything.
Which they got rid of a lot of characters and shows.
They got rid of a lot of shows is the thing. It turns out a lot of the reason that the character, there was a couple years ago where a lot of these characters were just being killed off, and that started like a whole conversation about bury your gays. It turns out now it's just that a lot of these shows are getting canceled, which we talk about in depth in the episode, but a lot of that I think has to do with the general state of health of streaming, which is medium right now, and TV in general kind of going through some growing pains. So we had an interesting combo. So join us over on the Legends of Tomorrow podcast and let us know what you think.
My thought is maybe if they made better shows, the health of streaming and TV would be better. That's just my thought. Just
did
personal opinion.
By the way, did you hear that the Rings of Power, the Amazon show that they spent like $8 billion on, had a completion rate of 37%?
I was aware that it was not
even half.
It was not highly received by people I follow on YouTube and various platforms.
It was so beautiful. and so boring. I wanna finish the first season. I hear it gets a lot better. The first episode was like watching paint dry, kind of. And I'm sure there's people who are like, I loved it. I'm glad for you. It was very tough for me.
I would love to hear from those people. I did not watch it.
Yeah, please. What did I miss?
But yes, that actually does not surprise me at all. Wow.
Yeah. So the streaming services seem to be in a bit of trouble. It's possible that reinventing cable, but on streaming, was not the best idea.
It could have been better.
Could have been a bad idea. I don't know, maybe.
But HBO Max, still great.
But HBO Max, I mean, what great entertainment is on there. And now, just before we go, this podcast is not sponsored by HBO Max yet. But have you watched any of Succession, Rebecca?
No. Is it like Lost?
It is not like Lost in any way, to be honest. It's like a show full of bad people that are almost kind of irredeemable, but they're all rich, and it's like a dark comedy drama kind of thing. And we are obsessed, and so I'm barreling into season 2, but the last season is airing now, so I'm just ducking spoilers as I go about the internet. Everyone's talking about it. Anyway, HBO Max, a great program.
Is it about rich people like Charles Widmore?
Kind of, yeah.
So it's kind of like Lost.
We can figure out how it's like Lost. We can bring it back around every time. That is our guarantee to you.
That's how you get me to watch it. If you can sell it to me that way.
I do want to bring up this comment from the chat. Kenny says, HBO Max is going to be renamed Max.
I don't like it.
I don't like it. It doesn't have the same ring to it. Just Max.
I mean, I'm just trying to use it in a sentence. Like,
have you guys watched this thing on Max? No, the Max, like Saved by the Bell. Is it like
Max,
maybe.
Like a person, or are you going to the Max?
Have you watched? Do you want to go to the Max and watch Succession?
Now that would be better if they called it the Max.
Now that's a streaming service.
I'd be doing some Bayside Cheers or something.
Yeah, seriously.
It's different. That would have been Saved by the Bell was NBC.
So I have like a dream sequence, and it goes like.
I don't like Max.
What a classic. No, I don't like it. They should. Why didn't they take this through us? They're biggest fans.
We should be consultants for this. Brand consultants.
Workshop this through us?
I feel like they should have done a focus group from the biggest HBO Max fans.
Yeah. We could have been like, listen, you're where we go for our cult documentaries. You're where we go for our prestige TV, our DC TV.
Our superhero stuff. Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess now we're taking it to the max every time. Every time we go in the future.
Say that we're taking it to the max. That helps.
That's gonna help. That's gonna help for sure.
Okay. Well, I think on that note, that is going to do it for Supergirl Radio and this episode of Supergirl Radio Rewind. But until next time, I'm still Rebecca Johnson.
And I'm still Morgan Glennon. And thanks for joining us for Supergirl Radio Rewind.
McGurk! I love typing.
Not mess with my Google Docs, Meeksy.
Supergirl Radio is going live every night of the week. How do you like it? Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Kira. I love that. So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom. Because
she looks like a boss in this coat.
Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Helen Slater here. So fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.
Yeah!